Chesley, do you know what time it is? I guess I do know what time it is. It's Sunday afternoon Bible story time with Karen and me, Chesley. That's right. And we're glad to be here, aren't we? Oh, yes, I'm glad to be here and see the boys and girls. I can't really see them that I can imagine. Oh, yes, we can always imagine. And we know that they're listening. Some can listen now, and others can watch it later on. And what about the adults? Oh, yes, the adults. We find out that there's adults that listen all the time. I'm glad they are. I think you should listen together. What about churches? You know, Chesley, we have heard that there are some churches, and even in Africa, that they are listening to this. So we are so happy. And so we're around the world. We're going around the world, yes. We have a dear lady in Kansas, and her name is Mary, and we love her and appreciate her. And she sends these. Yes, she does. She shares these with some churches in Africa that she's acquainted with, some pastors there. Oh, good. Well, I want to say hello to them and hello to Mary. Yes, we say hello to Mary, and we appreciate all that she does. Mary is in a nursing home, but she works for the Lord. And you can do that anywhere you are. You know what? She's doing the right thing at the right time at the right place. That's right, Chesley. We can always do right. In fact, my friends, Francine and Christine, said their mother would say to them, girls, you can't go wrong by doing right. No, and that's the name of our story. You can't go wrong by doing right. And you know what, Chesley? Oh, yes, I do. You can't go right by going wrong. You can't go right by doing wrong. So, Chesley, it's important to make right decisions. You know, it's always in choices, isn't it? Always choices in life. All kinds of choices. But, Chesley, you didn't sing the theme song. No, and I'm ready. Oh, this gospel train is chugging at the track. Chugging at the track, this chugging at the track. This gospel train is chugging at the track. Chugging to the glory land. That's right. It's chugging to the glory land. Chesley, we're going to see Jesus. Going to see Jesus. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Going to see Jesus. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Going to see Jesus in the glory land. Who can go, Chesley? Is it everybody? Is just certain people? If you love the Lord, you want to serve Him and live for Him. That's all it is, that we surrender to Him, say we want to love Him and serve Him, and then do it. Oh, and so then get on board this gospel train. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, get on board this gospel train. Yes, you can. It's that choice we need to make. Get on board this. Chesley, we can't keep singing it. What we got to do now is tell our story. And it's in Judges chapter 13, verses 13, chapters 13, 14, 15, 16. In this man, Samson, he was quite a guy. This man, yes, Samson was quite a guy. He had, he lived to be, he served as the judge there for all those years. In fact, 20 years. But it was really something. Let's go back to the beginning when his mother, the mother and dad, they didn't have any children. And one day she had looked like an angel or something appeared. And I think it was probably kind of scary. It probably was scary. And she didn't know what in the world. And as this heavenly being said to her, said, you're going to have a baby boy. And she got excited. She did get excited because they had no children. And then she thought, and this angel was talking to her, and he was telling her all the things, how she was supposed to take care of this baby. And she got scared, and she went and got her husband. She said, I want my husband to hear this. I don't know that she was scared. I sure would have been on it and shaking. Well, Chesley, it was unusual and all, but somehow she knew that this was true. And he wasn't just tricking her. He wasn't just tricking her. She knew that this was for real. I think it was like heaven. Yes, it was like a heavenly thing. She knew that it was real. And so she got her husband, and she said to this what she thought was an angelic being, she said, you stay right here. I'm going. I said, please, I want to get my husband. When her husband, this being came back again, and so she got her husband, said, don't you leave. She got her husband, and he came, and he said, tell me this. And he wanted to know, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to take care of this young man? Yes, if this baby is going to be a boy, and you're saying that, and what the Lord had said, this angelic being had said, he was be the one to help them from the Philistines. What was the enemy? Oh, the Philistines for 40 years, they had been coming into their land and ravaging them. And that mean they was being mean to them? Yeah, they was being mean to them, and they was taking over their lands and getting their crops and all. They needed help. They needed to deliver somebody that could help them. And so it's going to be this kid. Well, he's not even born yet. I know he's not even born yet. So it's going to be a while. But here's what's going to happen is they're going to have to teach him. I know, Chesley, they're going to have to teach him and train him. And so when they said to him, as the father, he said, well, if I'm going to have this child, we're going to have this child in our family. How do we do if you said he's going to be to deliver her? He's going to deliver us from the bondage of the Philistines. And he said, I don't know how to do it. What do we do? What's the deal? Oh, he said, yeah, how do we raise him? How do we train him? What do you want us to do? So he told him exactly what they were supposed to do. And so they were supposed to do the right thing. Do the right thing. Whatever he told them to do was to do it. And he said, this young man, you teach him to be faithful all the days of his life, and be faithful to God, and to all of the things he's to do. He said he's not supposed to be, we don't want to do him wrong. We don't want him disobeying the law. We don't want him just going his own way, doing his own thing. He had to be obedient to God. What God's word declared, that's what he was to do. And so he was supposed to listen to God and talk to him. That's right. He was supposed to listen to God, talk to God. And so as he grew up, and he was born, as he grew up, and those parents began to teach and to train him. You know, Chesley, when he got older, did you know the Lord began to speak to him, began to move on him? And what was the deal? Well, he found out, and his parents had been teaching him about the Philistines, and they no doubt had told him, you are to be the deliverer. Did God tell him? I think the Lord did make it assurance to him, gave him assurance that he was the man. So that meant he needed to listen to God and do what he said. And not make wrong choice. Don't make wrong choices. You can't go wrong by doing right. And you can't go right by doing wrong. And so this man, he started out, and there was times when he would see that they were in danger one time. What do you mean they was in danger? Well, they had a lion come out and roar out. He was with his parents, and they was going along, and all of a sudden this lion roared out against him. Oh, he better get his gun. Chesley, they didn't have guns. But what he did call upon the Lord. And what good did he do? Well, the Lord gave him supernatural strength, and he literally killed that lion. It's impossible, Chesley. It was in the natural. He couldn't have done it. But the Lord gave him power. What he was doing was showing him that he was greater than him. He was greater, yes, and if he had a need, something that he couldn't help, he couldn't do, he couldn't have taken care of that lion, it would have killed him. And his parents too. That's right. His parents, they were all in danger. And also, if he got in the town, if it got in the town, it could destroy the people. No telling what the damage it could have done. But he killed because it's when the Spirit of the Lord would come upon him as he called upon God for help. And so that showed him right then as God was with him. God was with him, and it showed his parents. You know, the Lord told us that he was going to be an unusual son, going to be different. God was going to use him to deliver. And you know what I think happened? What do you think happened, Chesley? I think the people had confidence. It gave the people confidence. Now, they didn't. Now, I believe that Samson probably said, don't look at me. It's not me. It's God that's doing this. And he didn't want to worship him. Oh, no. There should be no worship of Samson. He was being used of God. Well, Chesley, as time went along, this man began to make wrong choices. Now God can't use him. So what he would do, the Lord wanted to use him to deliver the people, his people, the Jewish people that were in bondage to these Philistines coming in and destroying the land, taking their crops. But he would get off, and he decided he wanted to be like a playboy. He wanted to just do what he wanted to do. And he wasn't living for God. He didn't want to live for God. He just wanted to get out there and just play and just have all kinds, and just do anything you wanted to do. And as he got older, but from time to there'd be a great need, and the Lord wanted to use him, that he couldn't. But this man, as he would call upon him, well, Samson, he would all of a sudden, he'd say, all right, Lord, and it was like he would change his mind and say, okay, I know, and I believe the Lord reminded him what he called him to do. You are the deliverer. You are a leader, and you need to lead the way doing right. And you know, it's a good word for us. That is a good word for us, Chesley, at all times. We need to be a leader in doing the right things. Whether we are actually the leader of the organization or the group, whatever they do, we need to do the right thing. Set that example. You know, and so he wasn't being a good example, and then others followed his example. That's the thing we have to watch about, Chesley. What we do, others take notice. And if they're not thinking right, they'll do wrong. If they're not thinking right, they'll do wrong. And they might look to him and say, well, Samson did it, so I can do it. Well, Samson got into trouble again and again, but the Lord needed him to be the leader. And so there would be a serious need to people in need, and the Lord would use him. And so what else did he do? Well, one time it was the whole gates of the city. He was able to pick those gates up, and he just picked up the gates. That's what the gates, they had to have them closed so nobody could get in. He just picked up the gates and walked away. No, and so then he could get in. Chesley, it was, yes, they could just walk right in. Well, he didn't care. It didn't matter. Whatever the situation, God wanted to use him. I wish he'd have done the right thing all the time. I wish he had too. But he was kind of known as just a playboy. He wanted to do his own thing. But what if he had just been faithful all the time? It was one thing after another. Is that he went to the wrong places, did the wrong things. He was around bad company. And they can get you in trouble when you get around bad company. That's right, Chesley. When we deliberately go into a place that we know and that we can get in trouble, then we can get in trouble, and it can lead to some bad things in other people following. So, Chesley, what about the other way around? If you do the right thing, and we may have friends that they're kind of wavering, they don't know which way they're going to go. But then if they see us do the right thing, and then they'll do the right thing, it will encourage them. It will strengthen them that they'll say, that's the right thing to do. Because you can't go wrong by doing right. You can't go wrong by doing right. The Lord blesses right. So this man, though, he went on and on. He had kept doing wrong and wrong till finally it got down, and it was a big, long story we don't have time to get into. But all said and done, he had disobeyed so long, and the Lord couldn't let him go. He had, you have to learn your lesson. You have to learn your lesson. And because God loves. Because, that's right, God loves, and he wants us to learn the lesson, but also that we are an example to others, and it shows others that the Lord is wanting to bless. And what are you doing, Chesley? Oh, I was just flirting with the girls. Oh, okay. Well, it's back to our story. So the time came before it was over with. He wound up in prison. They had arrested him. And I thought he had great temper. Well, he had just, as we said, he just fooled around. He can't go right by doing wrong. So he kept on and on. And the Lord tried to work with him. And then after a while, he ran out of all the time. The Lord loved him, and he cared for him and for the country. So he dealt with him. He came a time when all of a sudden he'd been sinning, he kept on, and then when he got in great need, and then he called on God, and where was God? And God didn't hear him. The Bible said he didn't even know when the blessing of the Lord had left him. God did knock on his door and say, hey, my blessing has left you now because of your sinning. But he found it out. He found out the hard way. What's he going to do? Chesley, he's in prison, and they punched out his eyes. Oh, it's terrible now. He has no hope. Chesley, he does have hope if he'll put his trust in God. And then he's already messed up. Yes, he did mess up. He had sinned. But what is his hope? He don't have any. Chesley, only God can help him. No one else can help him. The Lord will not cast him away if he'll come to him. And so there as he was just having to grind. And he was grinding corn, walking around like an animal. It's just terrible. I can't stand it. I'm about to cry. Chesley, I don't want you to cry. I want you to know that he kept doing the right thing. He didn't have a choice, really. But he was calling out to God. And the time came, Chesley, when they called on him. And they said, and they was having a big party out there. Who was having the party? The Philistines, yes, the Philistines were having a big party. And they said, well, where's that guy that comes out here, and he has such power and authority and all, and he can just take down the walls, and he can do all kinds of things, and he can tear up the lion and all that stuff. And Chesley, he could take in a battle one time. He found just a jawbone of a donkey, and he went out, and that was his weapon. And what did he do with it? Well, Chesley, he killed many of the enemy. It was a wonderful thing that he did. God just helped him in many unusual ways. They brought him out, and they said, now, he can't do anything. And he said, he's just an old slave. Look at him. And what's going to happen, Chesley? Well, he has no choice but to call on God. He's just out. He calls on God, or where can he go? I think he's just done for. But he needs to do the right thing. And he called out to the Lord. And it was like he needed a miracle. And he said, he knew he had done wrong. And I think he's going to call out to God. And he knew he had done wrong, but he said, Lord, if you'll just one more time, if you'll just avenge me of my enemies. now he wanted to be a real leader. Yes, he did. And Chesley, it was a battle. This was like a battlefield death. And the Lord gave him strength, and he literally brought down that entire huge building where those people were. And he gave him the victory. He gave him the victory. He lost his life, but he had got back right with God. Chesley, it's important that we take the lead in doing right. I wonder what other things he could have done if he had kept doing right. If he had kept doing right. But he chose to do wrong. But I'm glad in the end he did come back. But Chesley, let's don't do that. You waste a lot of time and you lead a lot of people astray if you don't. That's right, Chesley. If we wait too long, and if sometimes we want to live for the Lord, and then sometimes we change our mind and back and forth, well, people get to where and then they can't trust you and they don't believe you. That's right, they don't believe you. But what about if we're like Jesus, do the right thing, like Jesus did the right thing, and even when it was the hard things, when no one else stood with him or believed him, he still did the right thing. You know what? You can't go wrong by doing right. You can't go wrong by doing right. And you can't go right by doing wrong. Chesley, that's a good story, and it's a good example for us that we can look and see what right does, what wrong does, and we have this is something that's on us that we need to be thinking about. We need to be a leader, leading the way. No matter what anyone else does, we do the right thing because it pleases Jesus. And it makes him smile. It makes him smile. And right now it makes me smile to know you're going to get some rest by going to bed. Oh, did you know I'm not even sleepy, Chesley? I know you may not be sleepy, but sometimes you need to go to bed and you need to get some rest. You mean wood needs to rest? Chesley, I know you're wood, but you're going to have to rest. And so we're glad to see Irma Jo. I don't know how to say her last name, but we're glad to have her. She listens every week. And I think she's my friend. She's your friend. Chesley, right now, back to going to bed. Goodbye, and I'll see you next time. That I sure don't like going to bed. I think it stinks, Chesley. It trunk stinks. No, Chesley, the trunk doesn't stink. We'll see you next time, Chesley. You have a good evening. May the Lord bless you and keep you. We look forward to seeing you next Sunday afternoon, the Lord willing. Goodbye.